Welcome to the Theology in Progress podcast. Target recently announced a new transgender bathroom policy. What does this mean for the Christian, and how should we respond? We decided to weigh in on this controversial issue.
Hi, welcome to the Theology in Progress podcast. I'm Josh.
I'm Chris.
And here we are again today.
Here we are again today. It's a beautiful, dreary, rainy day.
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
Oh, gosh. Yes, it is. Well, welcome to another episode. We're having a lot of fun, as you can tell. And I think we've got an exciting episode. It's been the hot button issue today. And, this is going to be coming to you guys a week from now. So I don't know what it's going to look like in the media at that point. But today...
It'll always be something.
It'll be something. But today, the big news is that Target has come out, allowing people to use the bathroom of their choice. So for transgender, they can use the male restroom or female restroom based on the identity that they choose to identify as. So everybody's talking about it. The media, a lot of Christians, a lot of stuff on social media. So
big question.
We're going to weigh in and give you our 2 cents and hopefully grow a little bit because this is a difficult issue to deal with.
So I think the top question on everybody's mind is, how should we respond?
Of course, that is the big issue.
So let's just start from that. Actually, let's start by defining we. Who are we?
Who are we?
Saying, should we respond?
I think we have to talk about we, the church.
That's all we really can talk about, right?
Yeah, that's what we're after. We're not really after how the world reacts, but we do want to talk about...
We really don't care what Bruce Springsteen does.
We really don't care what Bruce Springsteen does. Although, I support his right to not want to go into a state that he doesn't want to go into. Well, because I think we
support his right to be self-contradictory?
I think we should have the same rights, too, to not go and do things that we don't want to do. So, if I want to uphold freedom in all cases and situations.
That's true. You kind of wonder if sometimes Christians are talking out both sides of their mouth when they say we should be allowed to say no to people who want us to bake a cake. And then say, Bruce Springsteen, why are you saying no to this?
Exactly, but he's just doing the exact same thing. And, so we need to just let him know that he's contradicting himself, and maybe we should be the bigger people and figure out a way to work through this. So
we're standing up for right. He's standing up against the right.
Yeah, but he's using the right that he's trying to take away to do it.
Yeah.
Right? So he doesn't disagree. I mean, he doesn't agree. Doesn't disagree. There's too many negatives in here. All right, let's just jump right into this.
Yeah, that was side stuff.
So how do we respond to this? I think for most Christians, the first gut reaction is there's something wrong with the picture. Like, we don't like the idea of people being able to, one, just self-identify as whatever gender they feel that they want to.
Yeah.
I happen to be a big believer in biology, and so you look down there and you see something or you don't, and that's kind of the way that's your first clue.
How you know?
That's how you know. That's the first clue as to what your gender is. Although gender is not just biology. Gender happens to include some other things, and I don't want to go down too far of a rabbit trail, although we might need to talk about that a little bit, of what gender means, and maleness and femaleness and created in his image and all that sort of stuff. Maybe we should just save that for a blog post. But
that'd be a really good one.
But just reaction to it, my first gut reaction is, I don't know about this. I don't like that. That makes me feel a little uncomfortable. I'm not really sure about it. But after I start thinking about it a little bit more,
and just appreciate that first gut reaction, because I think it's disgust at sin, which for a Christian is a good thing to have.
Yeah.
So I want to put that out there and make sure that everybody understands. Disgust at sin for a Christian is a good thing to have. Mm-hmm. I don't think anybody would debate that.
Yeah, nobody would debate that.
So we're good there. Up to this point, we're good.
We're good.
But
the more you think about it, the more I have to go into a position of, I think that's a bit of an overreaction for me. Because what are the real implications of it? And then how do we deal with that as far as trying to be a witness and a light to those people? Because let me tell you what my big problem is just right off the bat, is a lot of people are calling for the boycott of Target because they're allowing this open bathroom policy. And
not just
I don't
allowing
think,
it, but promoting it is what some of the arguments go so far as to say.
So
not just allowing it, they're promoting it.
So they're promoting it. So, basically the way I see it is, now there's not a bathroom distinction. So I don't know if I have to go in there dressed up like a woman if I wanted to use the women's restroom. Can I just go in and say, hey, I'm going to use the women's restroom, dressed like this as a man? I'm clearly a man. I've got facial hair. I
identify internally as a female.
I mean, that's what the argument is. And so that's just as legitimate as somebody dressed up in full women's clothing, because they're saying that they identify as female but have all the biological characteristics of maleness. And so, anyway, that's where some of this stuff starts to get into a gray area. But I'm not a big fan of necessarily calling for boycotts of Target. I don't know. Let me get your take first, and then we can deal with some of this area.
There are a lot of things to think about. I've talked to and seen several comments and conversations from women in particular who say things like, I can't defend myself from people who would want to come in and violate me. I can't stop anything. So if they open up the public restrooms to transgenders, it allows potential predators to come in dressed as transgenders and just do whatever they want. And I can't do anything to stop it. And I want to sympathize with that feeling, because they are unable to protect themselves at times.
Yeah.
And the community has, I think, in some sense, a responsibility to do what they can to protect the helpless. At the same time, I wonder how much that actually happens. But I can't argue one way or the other on that,
for a
just
lot of
because
women,
I have no data whatsoever to back that up.
And a lot of us don't. We all just speak from this completely anecdotally.
Oh, yeah.
But for a lot of
we
women,
read on Facebook just
exactly. But for a lot of women, it's about that feeling of security and safety that they're after. Yeah, it's not like a whole lot of women are getting raped in the bathroom by either transgendered people or people dressing up like transgendered. I thought that was a great point, by the way, that somebody made. Because that is the danger that a lot of us, with the conservative viewpoint, and yes, believe it or not, I lean a lot more conservative than I do liberal, although this episode might not show it. You'll probably accuse me of being a little bit more liberal.
You liberal.
But we're not afraid of transgendered people going in and sexually assaulting, women or children. We're more afraid of sexual deviants dressing up or pretending to be trans so that they can get access to people in vulnerable positions. So that's really what the danger is. And I want to be super sensitive, because that to me is the biggest reason why this is a bad idea. Particularly if this gets opened up to schools and locker rooms, like, elementary and junior high and high schools, because I think that is a horrible, horrible idea. You are asking for trouble if that happens. It wasn't that long ago that I was in that situation in high school, and I mean, I know how boys
what
think,
goes on there,
and there's a whole lot more opportunity for something to go down in a locker room at school or or the bathroom at school than a public shopping place like Target's bathroom and stuff.
Yeah.
It's not. The opportunity doesn't present itself in the same way.
Yeah.
And so I think for me, that's kind of where I come down on. I really don't know what kind of a witness our Christian response is if we just call for boycotts.
Let's draw a line right there, because I think we both agree that this issue and allowing transgenders to choose whichever bathroom they identify with is a bad idea, not for the sake of the transgenders, but for the sake of the people who may or may not be violated by predators who want to come in. So for that reason, I think we can both agree that's a bad idea.
Yes.
But at the same time, stuff is going to happen in the world, and we can't do much about it.
This is true.
Target's going to make their decision regardless of what we're saying
That's
right now.
Right. Exactly.
So I think the more important
and they have the right to.
They do have
They're
the
a
right
private
to.
business. They have the right to do it. Well, I mean, private, public.
Yeah.
They have a right to make whatever policies they want.
Yeah.
And so, the question is how do we as Christians respond to that? Yes.
That's the key.
Exactly. And I think boycotting them, or at least yelling for boycotts, isn't the best response. Now, if you feel that you can't shop there now because this really, you feel like supporting Target in some way is somehow supporting this policy, then I think absolutely, then you need to boycott it. But I don't think yelling about it on Facebook and and becoming really vigilant about it is the answer. Number one, for just a purely pragmatic reason, I don't think you're going to affect anything because nobody's going to stop shopping at Target, enough to change this sort of a culture environment. Number one, Target's been a leading supporter of all sorts of these liberal and gay causes for so long, and nobody's had any problem with it until they make a bathroom policy change. And so then that gives me to my other thing, is if we were to take a stand on everything, I'm talking about like supporting or doing anything with people that are sinful or with people in the world that have a position that we don't agree with, we would end up having to abstain from everything in the world. Yeah. I mean, Paul even says this, right? Like we should expect sinful people to sin. This should not surprise us that much. Now, I liked what your point was. Feeling the sense of disgust is a good thing. It can be a good thing. But it's how do we look at this situation and these people that are involved. The people involved, I think, are the important things, and say, there's hurt and there's need here. Are we best meeting that need by calling for boycotts and saying that transgendered people are, going to be in there sexually assaulting people? Yeah. Even though I know that's what the message gets perceived as.
For the sake of time, I want to make a scriptural jump. Mm-hmm. Trust me, the exegesis is here, though. It's the difference between Jesus looking at the woman caught in adultery and saying, "Neither do I condemn you," and someone walking up and saying, "Just kill her right now." Mm-hmm. It's when you take a stand like this against people who are promoting sin and in sin and stuff like that, mm-hmm. when you take a stand and do stuff like that, I wonder if it's closer to saying, just kill them. Or stone them. Do away with the sin and the sinner while you're at it.
Yeah.
Because they're evil. Mm-hmm. I know that's a little bit of an exaggeration, a little hyperbole, but I think Jesus' response in John 8 there mm-hmm. is really telling and really exemplary for how Christians should live their lives mm-hmm. in response to sin. Mm-hmm. There's little room for interpretation on how Jesus viewed the woman caught in adultery.
Yeah.
Now, he did say, "Go and sin no more."
Sure.
But, "Neither do I condemn you."
Yes.
Is a strong statement.
He looked at her and saw her, well, with the love of God. I mean, that's what we're after. But he saw her for more than just her sexual act. Mm-hmm. And, the sin that she was trapped in.
Yeah.
Right? And so this is actually, I want
to make the small point here.
Go ahead.
Not only trapped in, but she intentionally chose it.
Sure, absolutely.
This is not like, oh, I was accidentally raped as a kid and now I have these thoughts and tendencies and feelings.
Yeah.
Maybe she was, but she intentionally chose this life of adultery.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So we're not talking about people who just accidentally get into sin. We're talking about people who choose sin.
Yeah, exactly. And for whatever reason, see, I think people would like to use this story and say, yes, but he said go and sin no more. Well, they have to have an encounter with Jesus first before they can be said to go and sin no more. And I think that's where we're trying to get at is us jumping up and down and saying like, this is disgusting and all this sort of stuff actually sends an opposite message of Jesus looking at the person first to make the opportunity so that you can say, go and sin no more.
Instead, we say, go and sin no more, and then say, oh, hey, come meet Jesus.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a total
backwards.
It's totally backwards. And so, whatever your position is on it, like I said, I meat sacrifice to idols. Paul was very clear. If your conscience does not allow you to participate in something because you feel that meat that was sacrificed to idols is somehow evil and you can't in good conscience do that, abstain. Don't go to Target. But I would also like to challenge you. You'd better not buy a whole lot of things. You better not turn on the television but there's a whole host of things that you cannot do in this world without
you can't watch
supporting.
anything on ABC. You can't watch any Disney movies because they support a homosexual agenda at times.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and Dynex, right? Who knows what the company that makes Dynex supports? We don't look at all of this stuff until it becomes one of our pet sins, and then all of a sudden it's a big problem. So I don't know. I'd just like to point that out just so that we can, maybe have a consistent, clarified message as Christians. So anyway, any other final thoughts on this? What's our big takeaway? How do we want Christians to respond to this issue then?
Do everything in love.
Do everything in love.
I think that's as simple as it can get, and honestly, that's getting at what Jesus said was the second most important commandment anyway. Love your neighbor as yourself. If you want to make a statement, boycott Target, and take a stand for what's right, more power to you. But do it in love. If you get on Facebook and start calling out all of the transgenders, all of the homosexuals, and you start calling them horrible, rotten sinners and stuff like that, sure, you're right. But what is your message communicating, and how is what you're saying helping to build the kingdom of God? And as Christians, you can't afford not to think about that.
Yes, it's got to be our highest ethic.
Has to be our highest priority. How does what you're saying communicate the good news of the gospel of Jesus Christ?
Absolutely. So I love that. Do everything in love. Sometimes that might mean loving your kids and your family so that you need to protect them of whatever the situation may be. So if there is a situation that could arise in a bathroom, you need to look out for them. I have daughters. It's a very real issue for me. So you need to protect them. But you also need to care about the people that are trapped in that sin as well. And we have to make sure that we're doing all that we can to reach them with the love and gospel.
Yeah.
So
do not discount them. Do not think them hopeless, and especially do not damage the gospel of Christ because of your stance on Facebook against a sin that some company decided to support.
Yeah.
Do everything in love and do your best to demonstrate the gospel of Jesus Christ and the good news that it is.
Amen, brother.
That'll preach. All right, well, thanks for watching the Theology in Progress podcast episode this week. Really glad you guys could join us. If you have any questions or comments on this topic, please feel free to comment below or on our website, theologyinprogress.com. And if you want more stuff just like this or something else, let us know. And you can subscribe to our channel both on YouTube and subscribe to our podcast or blog on our website at theologyinprogress.com/subscribe.
Yep. And if you guys want to support what we do here in this ministry, you can go to theologyinprogress.com/donate. Help us bring more material like this to you guys. Thanks for joining us this week, guys. See you next time.
See ya.
Make sure you're getting the latest updates about Theology in Progress by subscribing. Go to www.theologyinprogress.com/subscribe.